Women Innovators. Interviews with women with big messages and big missions, sharing their stories to inspire you to live your passion and step up to make the world a better place. Here's your host, Tami Patzer.
Hi, this is Tami Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce you to today's guest, Cindy Marvin. Cindy helps parents to avoid chaos, to repair relationships, and show how cooperation and peace can run the show in their family. As a parent, you can learn the tactical techniques to remain calm, listen for clues, and respond, and not to react to the buttons your kids are pushing. Reduce or eliminate yelling and bribing without feeling guilty so you can be the best parent you can be for your child in today's competitive society. Welcome, Cindy.
Thank you, Tami. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
First of all, if you could give me a little bit more information about your background and how you created reparenting.
Sure. Oh my goodness. A few years ago, had a lot of fun in my life. I just love being a mom, and unfortunately, went through a divorce, and those differences between the households and such brought about a lot of behavioral changes in my son. And what I once had with my son, as far as a relationship where we used to have fun and we could definitely connect, it was unraveling. And I was very concerned about that because, the negativity around being, quote, a single mom. So I didn't have mentors at that point in my life. So I really looked at and got educated through courses on parenting, through the internet. I got as much information as I could on parenting so I could really change my parenting style or parenting paradigm so it was more positive for both my son and I and get more results that way. And I did. It was a journey. And over the next few years, the knowledge that I gained transformed both me and my son. It was wonderful. I mean, I really stand on the shoulders of some wonderful teachers, and I began to see results. And when I saw these results, all of a sudden I was like, wow, moms used to come to me and say, wow, you have such a great kid. How do you do it? And I said, why can't I reach out to more moms, more parents, and help them with their struggles? Because now I've got a wealth of knowledge. I got a little treasure box here that can really help parents because they're proven results. They actually worked. And I sat down with a friend of mine. We came up with this reparenting. So reparenting, and it's spelled a little differently. It's not like reparent. It's REPAIRENTING. And it's LLC, and it's not for like the company LLC. It's Live, Love, Communicate.
Oh, so repair,
right.
Live, love, communicate. So reparenting LLC, perfect.
Yeah.
You have a smart friend there.
Yeah. So it's a little creative, but what I did is I started my company to really help parents on their journey with their children, a peaceful journey, one that they can really start to resonate with their children in a peaceful and mindful way.
So who would you say you are really helping?
Well, so many parents out there are so frustrated and overwhelmed, and they're really not sure what to do. So my parent is usually a parent of an elementary age child between 5 and 12 years old. And they come to me and they want their child to be fixed because, they're tired of this back talk, the uncooperativeness. The child doesn't listen. And so they're so frustrated, they start to, bribe their child or shame them or yell at their children to cooperate. And they don't like doing that. It's not resonating with them, but it gets it gets the child to cooperate short term. It's not really long term thinking. So they come to me for like help in these areas. And one of the first things I always say to moms and dads is like, let's just stop and breathe for a moment. It's going to be okay.
I imagine that by the time they come to you, I mean, I can think about it because what do you do when your kids don't listen? And you're in public, for example, and they're doing something that you're trying to get them in control. They're doing inappropriate things. So what do? You bribe them or you yell at them. And then, of course, everyone's looking at you and then the shame comes in. And it's like, oh my God, nothing works. And it's like you look back and you say, why did I have kids? And so what can you do to start and help these frustrated parents?
Well, the first thing I ask them to be is open-minded to change. Okay, and with that change, there's going to be a little pain or being a little uncomfortable because of that change. You have to keep an open mind and be non-judgmental. And if they can do that, then I can work with the mom or the dad with their mindset. Where are they now in relationship to themselves and their children? And where do they want to be going forward in the future, in the next, 6 months, year, and going beyond? Because time is of the essence. We only have so much time to influence our children. So once they agree to that and they're committed to that, then I can introduce new parenting tools to start to develop that deep connection with their child. So there's a simple, effective communication and awareness of family values that they can work on and cultivate, so that what we're doing is we're repairing, as in reparenting, we're repairing that disconnect. The child and the mom or the dad, they weren't connecting. And why weren't they connecting? And most of the time, the child needs something, but they weren't able to communicate it properly. And sometimes the expectation of the mother and father is like, oh, well, that's a child, a little person, and they could just communicate what they need to me. Not necessarily. So we need to know where the child is coming from, their intent, and all arguments or discord really comes from ineffective communication. So that's how I help moms and dads learn how to listen to their children, and then listen to their children so their children will listen to them. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense, and it's good advice for a foundation that is going to help that child to grow up into an adult who can communicate also. So what are some of the problems that you see? I know that as you're speaking, I'm thinking back to when I was a little girl, and the dynamics of the family at that time was my dad always went to work and was gone all the time. And then, of course, my mom happened to be a stay-at-home mom, but she was ill. And because of her illness, I felt kind of unloved, and I was very stressed out because I was always worried about my mom. and my
Yeah.
dad was always gone. So, what are some of the problems that parents and children are dealing with, and how do you help them deal with that? Because, like you said, and I think about, it's a silly example, but for example, my children always seem to be much more mature in my mind than they really were. Because, for example, I remember buying my boys rockets, rockets, and they were not old enough to play with those rockets. And they sat there for maybe 4 years before they were actually old enough to really be able to play with them. And I often thought, was like, boy, I was really off in thinking about how mature those kids were when they really were just little kids. So can
Yeah.
you talk about the problems of stress and expectations?
Sure. Yeah. Sorry you felt that. You felt didn't feel loved. I'm sure your mom loved you
Oh,
very much,
she
but
did. Like
she
I
just
said,
didn't maybe show it as much. But I know some kids, and we don't. Sometimes we don't associate our feelings can be felt the same way in a child. Like what we feel, our child feels. The way we act, our child reacts. Okay, so some of three big problems that I've seen with my clients is that one is stress. Many parents are overwhelmed, they're stressed out, they're like walking on a tightrope many days, between the demands of their job, financial commitments, chores, what they need to do at home, and child related activities, and then there's less time for themselves and for self care. So, one of the things I say to my clients is that take a moment to breathe, okay, and distress. You are stressed. Stress leads to distress, and then the parent really kind of strikes out either verbally or physically uh, uh, towards their child, and now the child becomes a victim of the parent's reaction. Um, the child can act in two ways. Okay, they can go into protective mode, which will either let them they'll rebel or comply to the parents, and they just feel helpless because both the child and the parent feel unheard, and they're locking horns, and that's never good. You're not going to get anything done there, and parents can make better decisions when they're not stressed out. And I can introduce stress reducing techniques to the parent so that they can learn these ways to dissipate the stress. And then what's even the golden nugget in that, they can even teach this to their child, right? So that really, not only am I then touching the mom or the dad, I can touch the parent as well. And really, unreal expectations is another problem. Uh, Parents sometimes don't get what their children are capable of, either one, understanding, or two, at their certain age. And because we're stressed out, we need to get things done, we're just like trying to bring our child along with us real quick. And the child may not understand what is going on environmentally because it wasn't communicated properly by the parent. Or, they're in their own world. Children, younger, very young children, um, they are very self-absorbed. They have their own thing going on. They're observing the world. They're learning in their own way, and you know, they're fascinated by things. Where as an adult, we're just like, yeah, okay, whatever. We got to go, right? We got to go to the next thing. We got to get something done. And for example, I was working with a dad. He gets so frustrated because his 3-year-old can't tie his shoes. Well, I'm like, well, the 3-year-old can't quite tie his shoes yet because they're not really physically capable of understanding the whole process. And then their fingers, the tactile, it doesn't work yet, and so you have to show and teach and repeat over and over until the child will eventually get it. But don't yell and blame the kid for being, quote, stupid because he doesn't know how to tie his laces. Makes sense, right? So,
and that's why they have Velcro.
and that's why they have Velcro. And don't be ashamed if your kids are still in, second grade with Velcro. They will eventually learn it. So it's okay. It's okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So we need to look at what I teach my moms and dads is how to use the right type of questioning to understand the child's issue and the intent, and making the child feel heard. And as soon as the parent and the child can understand, and we're in a more calming, mindful state, then we can teach, right? And then the parents can nurture that connection, and both of the parent and the child feel heard, and now they feel safe, the child feels safe, so that they can relate and connect again with the parent. So again, it's all form of communication and expectation.
I think that expectations, like I said, I always obviously thought my kids were much more mature and intelligent probably than they really were. And like I said, sometimes I was not communicating with them in the proper way. And again, like you said, as parents, there is no instruction manual. So how cool is it that you have literally come up with an instruction manual to help people to understand? For example, if you're expecting a 3-year-old to be able to function at a 8-year-old's level, you would be really in trouble, because all of the things that are happening to children in development and everything happen over time. And like you said, they're absorbing the world and different things, and they are in a whole different place. And that is part of a lot of the reasons why in the way we educate our children today, where we expect them to be able to walk into a classroom and sit quietly with 30 other kids to learn, it's not very realistic, in my opinion. So you also talked about limiting beliefs as part of the expectation. Can you expand on how our belief systems affect how we parent?
Certainly. We as parents usually parent our children the way we were parented, right? So we only know what we know. And if you were parented a certain way, most likely, like me, our parents were very domineering or dominant. They followed the dominant parenting paradigm, where it was more like the parent was in control. They wanted to control their child, and it was more of, hey, do what I say, kind of, don't worry, like, about your own feelings. They don't matter. Just do what I do what I tell you to, and, you need, the parent is the ultimate, go-to, and says whatever they say matters and is top priority, and you have to follow what the mom or the dad says, and the child's feelings really don't matter, right? And what happens, and also as far as communication goes, sometimes we slip up, parents, and we all do it. It's unfortunate, but we do. I say our words sometimes can be short. You cannot take something back that you have said. So These limiting beliefs is like, oh, you can't do this. You're never going to do this. You're not smart enough. You're too young. Be seen, not heard. All these kind of things that we say as a parent, we don't even think about the ramifications. But if we say it enough to a child, they begin to think, oh, and they question themselves, oh, am I not really smart enough? I'll never get this. Am I dumb? My opinions really don't count, I guess. Maybe I can't do this, or I'll never get it, right? So these are like limiting beliefs that start to go into the child's subconscious brain, and they may lay dormant for years, and then all of a sudden, when they're now in their teens or they're adult, and they want to really prosper, they want that abundance in life, they want the happiness, they want they want to go out and do something. All of a sudden, there's like a little thing in the back of their head going, oh, you'll never do it because you're not smart enough. Your opinion doesn't count. Those kinds of things. So those are what we call limiting beliefs. And what I do is I work with moms and dads and make them aware of what they're saying, so their words don't become those swords. You can always, you may want to think that, but step back, breathe for a moment, and I teach them how to reword what they want to say so they're not damaging their child. Plus, again, another great residual benefit is that by teaching them how to do this for their child, they can also learn to do it for themselves. And that same skill, when they learn it for themselves, then you know what? Family members, friends, coworkers, when they talk to those other people in their lives, they'll learn to talk with more respect, more confidence. So this way, the mom or the dad learns something for themselves as well as for their child.
Wow. And it also means that obviously when I was growing up, we actually got spankings or threats with a willow switch. But as time has gone by, there was the timeout or some type of other punishment where shaming, I guess, shaming punishments. So you have a catchphrase that is really fascinating to me, and I'd like you to explain it. It's parents learn how to bring harmony home. I really like that. Bring harmony home.
Thank you. That's kind of like my tagline, I guess. We want to learn how to replace a lot of these old limiting beliefs. And what I do is I teach empowering beliefs to moms and dads. So there are no needs for timeouts and consequences and punishments, and discipline. So harsh discipline methods, so that we replace those by peaceful and mindful ways of dealing with misbehaviors, I guess you want to say. So that once we integrate the right mindset and being able to take those opportunities of where we say, oh my gosh, I want to kill my kid because they're not listening, we take those and turn them into learning experiences. Then what happens is that we begin to meld and have a relationship with our child that's with mutual respect and trust. And as that relationship is repaired, you're going to have more peace and harmony in your home. And that's ultimately what parents want. They want harmony. They want their child's respect and support. And the child wants their parents' support and love as well. So with that going in hand, then and I've seen it in my own home with my own son using these techniques. I actually have peace and harmony in my home now. My son is not totally the little rebel that he used to be, because I learned how to understand what his needs were, how to communicate with him so he felt heard, I was being heard, and we formed a bond and a relationship of mutual respect. And once that all occurred, now when and please don't think that our household is perfect. And I tell my parents that too. No child is perfect, no parent is perfect, but you can be a great parent and you can have great kids by learning some of these techniques. And the techniques do bring harmony, peace, and love back into the relationship and the home, so that you're stressing less, and your relationship, when it blossoms like that, you're happier, and because you're happier, you get more abundance, and more of it keeps coming and flowing into your home. And ultimately, that's what parents want. When they first had their little baby and they were holding the baby in the hospital, the baby could do no wrong, right? But that doesn't last when they're in their tweens and teens. They're going to get a lot of, you're going to get a lot of headbutts and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden that cute little baby's like, oh, I'm going to, kill that kid. It doesn't have to be that way. You can maintain a relationship that's loving, that's empowering to both the child and the parent, and you can have peace, and you can bring that harmony home.
Wow, that's so beautiful, because as you were talking about that, I had the flashback of my daughter between ages 12 and 18. It was really crazy. So what are some of the misconceptions about children that we bring into parenthood?
One of I think the biggest misconceptions when a child is going through that stage of feeling their oats, okay? They're exploring their world, and all of a sudden they realize, hey, they have the power to say no, or they have the power now within. They are looking at the world, and they know that they can start doing things. And one of the biggest things is no, right? They say no to mom and dad, and mom and dad take that maybe personally, and the mother and the father, start to lock heads with the child and think, oh, I had a bad boy, I had a bad girl, No, the child is not bad. The child is not intentionally, the children are not born bad, okay? And they have no, quote, intention of being bad, not young children, okay? It's just really a miscommunication. They are trying to get a need met, and that is basically it. We as parents have to understand and be like the sleuth, okay, the detective, Sherlock, and figure out why the child is doing what they're doing, okay? It's not their intent to be bad and to, cause you all kind of ill, feelings, and it's just really their miscommunication about how and what they are currently needing. So the child is not bad, it's the action that is maybe bad or misinterpreted, okay, but not the child. So again, a word becoming the sword is, oh, you're a bad child. No, the child is not bad. It's just a miscommunication. Let's figure it out. And feelings, feelings are feelings. Everybody is entitled to their feelings. An adult is entitled to their feelings, and a child is entitled to their feelings. And there is no right or wrong about feelings. You feel what you feel. A child will feel what they feel. But it's our responsibility as a mom or a dad to support our child and help them figure it out. figure out how to communicate it, whatever their needs are and how they're feeling, and sometimes just being present and listening to the child is what the child needs.
Yeah, I
So,
can I know that's a fact because, for example, my son when he was little, it was like clockwork. At 5 o'clock, he cried. He would start to cry, and I think it was a combination of maybe being hungry, being tired, and he would cry for like 15 minutes, and nothing I did would change that. So of course I knew 5 o'clock, 5:15, you do not go anywhere or do anything because it was like it must have been a physical his body just he couldn't take any more stimulation in the day or something, and that was
yep,
his release. And so I just had to understand that it had nothing to do with anything other than it was part of his development cycle. So as a
yeah.
parenting coach, um, what do you think are some misconceptions about parent coaching that are out there, and why people might think like, oh, I can go this alone without advice? Because if I had had advice, I'm thinking, wow, there are some things that would have been so much easier. But what do you think are some misconceptions?
Yeah, some of them, well, some parents don't even understand what a parenting coach is because it's a relatively new type of coaching. So once I get the mother watch realize that, okay, parents can buy all the books that they want. They can go to the web and they can read about parenting, and yet issues still plague the family. Why? Because accountability. Um, Parents will go out and read everything, and okay, I got this. But then they don't have the support that they might need. Or even their own spouse, and say the mom has one idea of parenting and the husband has another idea of how to parent, and they're not on the same page, right? So, as a parenting coach, I talk to my moms and my dads, and I say, listen, you take your child to ballet classes, right? Your little girl, and she takes lessons on how to properly do um, her dance routine. She's got to exercise, eat right, and she's got to practice. If you take your son to a baseball coach for he plays baseball, your son's baseball coach will help him how to bat, how to catch, how to play the game. What are the strategies involved in that game? So a parenting coach, same thing, accountability. I'm not going to tell the parent how to parent. A parent, every family is different. Every family has different needs, and only they know truly what's going on in their own family dynamic. But as a parenting coach, I can provide the family with a roadmap and guide them along that journey according to that family's specific needs at the time, so they can get the results that they need. So the accountability, um, make sure that mom or dad is actually taking the steps to see results. So many moms and dads, they read, they put the book away, and then they complain that they're not seeing any results. Well, did you practice? Did you do what, maybe a book that you picked up suggested? No, their answer is, well, I read it, but, I didn't have the time. Well, time is of the essence. And we only really have approximately 12 years to influence and teach and guide our children. Because then, around their tween age, right, who becomes so much more involved in their lives? Their friends, right? They're going to school and they're not within your realm. Like when you're, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, we're constantly with our children. When they get older, they are now starting to spread their wings So we have to provide, think of it as a tree, okay? Tree has roots, holding that, the stronger the roots are, when the wind and the storms come, the tree stands, right? And it withholds, no matter what the chaos is around it, the environment. So as a mom and dad, we have to supply our children with the roots, right? So that when the chaos or when they go out into the world and they get exposed to things that are, we have a very competitive world right now, they can have the wings to fly and and have feel the freedom to expand their world, but they always come back to their roots. They know the family values. They know the difference between right and wrong. They're compassionate. They're self-assured. So we have to provide the roots. And that's what parent coaching does. We provide the roots so the child can then, spread their wings and fly. And the parents, so many parents, it's funny, they are afraid to let go, right? And some parents can't wait to get rid of their kids. But what we do is we provide the parent with, hey, listen, your child is really important. You are raising the next generation of people, right? Your responsibility as a parent is to make sure that that child has the right foundation to go out into the world and be a productive, compassionate, giving person. And that's real what parent coaching does. And most parents, when they understand that kind of responsibility, they embrace it. They say, yeah, we can do this. For the love of their child, they can do it.
Wow. It's so powerful to listen to you outline how people can, take on that big responsibility of being a parent. I mean, think about it. One of the most important jobs you'll ever do is to help raise a child who can become a good person. And think about that's a huge responsibility. So Cindy, tell me, where can we find out more about your services?
Yeah, I have a website. It's called reparentingllc.com, and we spell it reparentingllc.com. You Any parent that would like a 45-minute free, I call a consultation with me if they have some questions about parenting, and if they're stuck on a certain issue, I'd be more than happy to talk with them and help them get at least solve one issue. You know, the other thing is I do have a wonderful parenting course. Having a great relationship with your child is really important, I would feel. And, this parenting success course that I've produced is an outstanding course, and it's about really making profound shifts in the parenting and the family dynamic.
How do you deliver that course?
It's all virtual. So this way, one of the biggest things is time. Parents always say, I don't have the time. Well, make time, okay? So the course, you can download it, and then the parent can listen to the course at any point in time. They can listen on Sunday afternoon, on a Monday evening, on a Thursday at 1 o'clock at lunch. It's delivered in modules that they can download, and we give worksheets and more resources that they can also dive into. And then, of course, with that, if a parent wants the coaching along with the material, I offer the coaching as well. So it's an awesome experience, and it's basically 10 short weeks. So let's spend 90 days, parents can really personally experience that entire process of transformation that allows deep connection, cooperation, a peace of mind between themselves and their children, and bring harmony home.
Wow. Actually, like I said, I really love Bring Harmony Home. Tell me a little bit more about your background in terms of your hobbies and how you spend that time with your son now that you've got healed your relationship.
Yeah, well, now that he's a little older too, he's a lot more fun, you know. Um, and he's got his own ideas. He is the most creative little kid. He's much more creative than I ever was growing up. But I love to cycle. We take our bikes out, and there are wonderful routes where we go and explore. We go to the local town on Sunday morning, cycle in there, and we get a bagel, and I'll get some coffee. He gets some, orange juice or chocolate milk, and he goes, Mom, it's nice out. Let's go for a, bike ride over to wherever, and I'm like, awesome, sure. So then we also hike. He loves to hike. He is part of his Boy Scout troop, and within the Boy Scout troop, and this is where, again, it's a totally different. I'm going to veer off, but because he's a little older now and he is part of the Boy Scout troop, his father has gotten involved in the Boy Scout troop. And even though as a divorced parent and as my ex-husband, I now meet up with him once a week, one of the things we have to learn to let go as a parent and as an individual, we have to learn to let go. Let go of judgment, let go of anger, and learn how to forgive. Because once we can learn how to do those things, we become an elevated person. And through bettering my relationship with my ex-husband, it has a profound effect on my son, because my son doesn't feel the tension between us anymore. And that's so important for him. So when we do, quote, Boy Scout things, I'm an assistant leader, and I do some fundraising for the Boy Scouts as well, and I interact with, quote, his dad. He doesn't feel, oh, I can't tell Mom this because Dad's going to get mad, or I can't tell Dad something like this because Mom's going to get mad. It's okay. And that has reduced his stress a lot. And so with that, that was a great thing. I also learned I love the outdoors, and I have fun. It's fun. He's a great kid, and I no longer have to be worried, well, I'm still worried a little bit. I'm always going to worry because I'm a mom, right? But with his friends, he always tells me what's going on with his friends and what they're doing. And even when he has an argument or a disagreement with his friend, or his friend challenges him, right? He tells me, and we talk through, hey, well, how do you feel about it? And what would you do in this case? Or what would you do if you did that? And so part of the fun of parenting is the fun getting to know your child more. And then I always love, of course, a cup of joe in the morning, looking out my window and, experiencing life each day has become so much more abundant, and I love it.
Well, I can certainly tell you that I have a feeling that there's a whole nother interview to talk about how to be the best divorced parent you can be and how to have fun with your children. So I really enjoyed our conversation today, Cindy. I learned a lot. And like I said, I'm sure that we'll have more conversations in the future. So I just wanted to thank you for all your time today.
Oh, thank you, Tamara, for having me. I really appreciate the fact that, we met. I mean, um, that in itself, I mean, you're a wonderful person doing fantastic work, bringing so many people's words out to the public, and that's wonderful too. So I thank you for your time and allowing me to share some of my little pearls of wisdom, maybe. but,
Golden
yes,
nuggets.
little golden nuggets. And yes, I do have a little workshop on parenting with divorced parents as well. So, like you said, that's another day.
That's another conversation. So everyone, make sure that you go check out Cindy Marvin, Reparenting LLC, and that is REPAIRENTING LLC.com. Take her up on her 45-minute free consultation. Take a look at that parenting course. And if you're a divorced parent, ask her about that workshop. It's something that, again, our children are the most important projects we'll ever do in life. So again, everyone,
Yeah.
Cindy Marvin, thank you so much. This is Tami Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
You've been listening to Women Innovators with Tami Patzer. To learn more, please go to womeninnovatorsradio.com. And please do subscribe and share to spread the big messages and big missions to change the world.